Hi everyone, hope you're having a good day. Let's read some more on the magic trap. Now we just have to cover it so no one can see it's there, said their dad. So grab that extra little rug from your mom's office, it's the perfect size. Evan and Jesse looked at each other. There were a lot of rules in the Tresky house, but the number one rule was no taking anything from mom's office. Oh, come on, said their dad. It's not like some Persian rug. I bought that thing from Home Depot about 10 years ago, so go get it, please. Can we practice now? Jessie asked on the stairs as they lunged the small rug down. She wanted to be sure she could do the disappearing trick perfectly. There was no way she was going to mess up in front of 36 kids from school, including fifth graders. Yeah, said Evan, but it's pretty easy. I mean, all you have to do is lie in the basket and then jump through the hole when I say the magic words. There's really not much to it. When they had the rug positioned over the hole, Evan took Jessie to stand to one side of the basket. Their dad jumped off the porch and stood where the audience would be. Ladies and gentlemen, Evan said in his stage voice, for my final illusion of the day, I will perform the amazing disappearing trick. Yeah, right, shouted their father. You couldn't make an ice cube disappear in a microwave. What? Said Evan, looking confused. He stared at his dad. I'm heckling you, said their dad. You have to be prepared in case you have some rude people in the audience who start shouting things during your show. They're my friends. They're not going to be jerks, said Evan. You never know. It's important. If you want to be the best, you have to know how to handle yourself in any situation. It's like the military. They run every drill they can think of so that the soldiers are ready for anything in combat. He put his hands to his mouth and he shouted, Hey, you call that a rabbit? I've seen potatoes with more energy. Dad, cut it out. Their dad shook his head. You kids have to be tough. You're too soft living here. Come on, you're Treskies. You have to learn how to handle the rough stuff. Jessie had no idea why her dad was saying all these mean things to Evan. Why would anyone do that? Why were people mean on purpose? It just didn't make any sense to her. But she knew she wanted it to stop. Be kind and do your work, she barked. That was the classroom motto in 4-0. Their teacher, Mrs. Overton, had hung that motto over the door so that they would remember it at all times. Jessie thought it was a pretty good advice, actually. And let us do our work. She wasn't sure if she was being kind at that moment, but she was yelling because she was yelling, but sometimes strong words were the only words that worked. Now, that's what I'm talking about, said their dad. Tough. Way to go, Jessie. You could be in the army. Jessie smiled and jumped up and down once, waving. This was almost as good as getting applause from an audience. Evan kicked the basket. Can we do this thing already? He scowled at her. Ladies and gentlemen, and now for my final illusion, I will perform the amazing disappearing trick. Behold, a basket with 4 strong sides. Evan knocked on each side to show that the basket was solid. And now I lift the lid and my assistant will step inside. He motioned for Jessie to step into the basket. It was like getting into the bathtub. Jessie didn't like much taking baths, but she wasn't afraid of them. And now my assistant will lie down. Jessie immediately lay down. And I will close the lid. The lid came down on top of her, blocking out the sky, the trees, the light. All of a sudden, Jessie felt as if a hand were pressing on her chest, squeezing all the air out. She kicked with both legs against the lid and it popped open. Jessie, what are you doing? You can't do that. You have to lie still. It's too dark, said Jessie, jumping up like a puppet on a string. She wanted to get out of that basket as fast as she could. But wait, said Evan. It's not dark. It's a basket. Look, there's lots of light coming through. You could probably read a book in there. It's too dark. It's too small. There isn't any air. It's a basket. There's tons of air. Evan looked frustrated. Why are you being so weird? I'm not. It's just not safe. Problems? Asked their dad, calling from his place in the audience. No, shouted Evan. He turned to Jessie. Look, just try lying down. I won't put the lid down, okay? Just lie down and get used to it. Jessie trusted Evan more than anyone in the world. Even so, her heart was pounding inside her chest as she slowly lowered herself into the basket, holding on to the sides as if she were in a very tippy canoe. As soon as she laid down, her stomach started rising and falling. Evan squatted down next to her so that her head was just visible over the side. "Okay?" he asked in a quiet voice. "Not so bad, huh?" Jessie nodded just slightly, afraid that if she did more than that she might throw up. "So do you think you can let go of the sides?" he asked. "Just put your hands down inside the basket." Jessie used her brain to tell her fingers to uncurl slowly and come to her side. "I'm safe. I'm safe," she kept telling herself. "You're doing great, Jess," said Evan. "Now listen, I'm going to leave the lid open, okay? But I'm going to tilt the box so you can practice slipping out, just like we're doing during the show. You ready?" Jessie nodded again. It helped having the lid open so she could see the sky and especially Evan's face. She knew that as long as Evan was looking at her, nothing bad could happen. Still, she could feel sweat beating up at her temples and dribbling into her hair. "Just stop it," she told her sweat glands angrily. "You have no reason to be scared." Evan tilted the basket forward so that it seemed to fall away from her. And there she was, lying on the porch with nothing around her, free. She was out of the basket and free. She felt as if she'd just escaped being buried alive. "I did it!" she shouted. "I did the trick!" She scrambled to her feet, feeling that she could suddenly breathe again. "You're not supposed to stand up, Jess. You're supposed to go through the hole and hide under the porch," said Evan. "Let's do it again. And this time I'm going to close the lid, okay?" "Do you have to?" said Jessie, frowning. "The trick doesn't work if the audience can see you the whole time." Jessie knew he was right. If she wanted to be a magician's assistant, she would have to be closed up in that basket. That was her job. But the thought of being shut up in the basket, it really was exactly like a coffin. It made every muscle in her body want to get away, just the way the mole they had caught had tried so frantically to escape the rabbit trap. Jessie didn't want to let Evan down. He was counting on her, and she really wanted the audience to applaud for her. She was good at lots of things in school. She always got 100% on her math worksheet. She was the fastest reader in the whole grade, and her desk was always the neatest in her class. But no one applauded those things. Evan got lots of applause and cheers when he made basketball or played basketball. He even had trophies to display in his room. What would it feel like to have people applaud for her? Mostly, though, Jessie wanted her dad to see her do something extraordinary, like disappear right before his eyes, and then clap the loudest and the longest of anyone in the audience. Jessie stepped into the basket. Immediately her heart started to pound and her lungs felt twisted up, so she couldn't get a good breath in. "It's okay. It's just a basket. You can get out any time you want." Her legs began to wobble as she lowered herself down, down, down. "Just a basket. You can just push it off. It's okay." She pulled her hands in close to her sides and watched as the lid began to close. "Evan's here. He won't let anything bad happen to you. It's okay. You're safe. You're safe. You're safe." The lid closed with a soft creak, and Jessie could hear Evan slide the wooden pin through the leather latch. Now she was locked inside, and the wild panic took hold of her and made her shake like a leaf in a storm. "Locked in. Can't get out. No way out. No air. It's too dark. I can't breathe. I can't breathe." And then something was fighting and clawing and letting out the most terrible sound she had ever heard. The basket was banging all over the place, hitting her in the arms and legs, and Evan was shouting at the top of his lungs, but he couldn't tell her what he was saying because everything was muffled and far away except for the horrible screaming of the wild cat, which sounded as if it was right inside of her own head. And then the basket flopped off of her. The false bottom opened up, so she was lying out in the open on the porch, staring up at the wide blue sky, which looked as if nothing had happened at all. She rolled over onto all fours and pushed herself up. "Geez, Jess," said Evan. For some reason he was sitting on the porch, as if he'd been knocked over. Jessie stood panting, trying to get her breath back. Then her dad was there, looking at her closely with some kind of strange expression on his face. Jesse couldn't tell if he was angry or sad or worried or all three. Good place to stop. Are you wondering what happened? I'm wondering. We'll continue. Bye.